Good evening, Mrs. Matejic and Sebastian. Now, Mrs. Matejic, you probably don't know who Sebastian is, and Sebastian, you probably don't know who Mrs. Matejic is, so this is going to be a little introduction. Mrs. Matejic, Sebastian is an 11th grader who used to go to Hanlingen High School, is in class of 2012, you may not know him. And Sebastian, Mrs. Matejic, is my global studies teacher and has assigned optional assignments, which aren't so optional for this unit, which is religion, or also better known as coexist. And I chose to do the video project because I figured, well, I do video logs, vlogs every week anyway, I might as well give it a shot. And it's worth 80 points, and our required is 50 points. So I hope I do good on this, because this is the only, or do well on this, because this is the only one that I'm going to be doing. I'd like to start today with monotheism, and under monotheism there are three religions that we've been taught about in your class, and the first one is Judaism. It is the first religion, well, the first monotheistic religion that was based off of Abraham, who was part of a polytheistic religion, and pretty much decided that only one of them was the true God, because there was a lot of them, because it was polytheistic, and tried to spread teachings around there. And it was in Hebrew, so all of his followers are considered Hebrews and are Jewish and Jews. So the Jews followed Abraham, and he decided that you pray to the one God that exists, and his name is Yahweh, every single day, at least 3 times. And there is a specific holy day where you would go to a synagogue, or better known, or otherwise known as, I guess, a temple. And it's called temple when you're there, and it can be referred to as a synagogue when you're not there. Now, in temple, the Torah, which is the holy book of the Jewish religion, is held on the bima, and is read by the rabbi, who is the leader of the prayers to all of the temple goers, or people who are in temple. In temple, there's specific rules to dress. One of the main ones is men who go to temple have to wear a yarmulke, which has a weird spelling, which I may post somewhere and probably won't, that goes on your head. It's not like a hat, like a baseball hat, but it's kind of smaller and in the center. And that has to be worn at all times in the temple, and women may cover their heads too if they feel like it. The Jewish religion didn't start out very popular because it went against every other religion, which was polytheistic, and it was monotheistic, and so it didn't get very many followers to begin with. It rose to a lot more than what it is now, when it's only at about 14 million right now, which is due to quite a bit of persecution against them. As a big one and recent one is the Holocaust, which is led by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party over in Germany, where they would persecute and crucify Jews in terrible manners. Now, that being said, there are still 3 sects, S-E-C-T-S, sects, or sections, of the Jewish religion that are predominant, and they're called the Reformed, the Orthodox, and the Conservative. And these sects are not very widely spread. There's only, well, there is in several countries, but the main 2 countries that are in the United States here, and Israel, which is their holy land over in the Middle East, where they started. The holy/sacred text of the Jewish religion is the Holy Book, which is the Tanakh, which isn't technically the official, it's just a shorthand name that combines the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. And it was given to Moses by God 3,000 years ago. The main one is just the Torah, and that is called it is called the Torah, and is the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. Big main laws of the Jewish religion that aren't really just at the Jewish religion are the 10 Commandments sent down by God to Moses and other Jews who were pretty much standing around there, and 613 specific laws of God that go along with the 10 Commandments. Moving on from Judaism to Christianity, which is the second of our 3 monotheistic religions, and is currently the most popular religion with about 2.1 billion followers, which is almost 1/3 of the entire planet. And it spread out from Judaism, and it is basically the same thing, except for there are a few minor differences that I'll be detailing. Now, Christians and Jews alike believe that Jesus had walked the earth and was crucified, which is on a cross, which was common practice back then for witchcraft and other stuff of the like. But Christians believe that he rose again 3 days later to walk the earth for about 40 more days, continuing to spread his teachings, and where most of the New Testament comes from. The Bible contains 2 parts, as we went over, but it is split into many books. I say many because depending on which sect you are in for Christianity, which there are the 3 main ones, which is the Roman Catholics, the Orthodox, and the Protestant. And depending on which one you're in is how many books. There's option 66 books, and there's 81 books, and there's just a difference in between it, and it depends on how you interpret the Bible and which version you read, because there are a lot of different versions of the Bible. They're all Christian, and they're all generally accepted, but everyone belongs to a specific sect and believes different certain things. We are now moving on to the 3rd and final monotheistic religion that we have been studying, and it is in existence, which is Islam, and the followers are Muslim, and it sprouted, I guess, from a combination of Judaism and Christianity, but with a little mix of its own in it. And they believe that Jesus was still the Son of God, and he was resurrected after the 3 days on the cross, but he's not as important as Muhammad's. Muslims, who are mainly Arabs, pray 5 times a day, and it's called the Salah, which is one of the 5 pillars. And they pray 5 times a day, and the specific times are about dawn, noon, afternoon, evening, and nightfall, or sunset and nightfall. And if you can't do it, is it okay as long as you make it up like the next day or as soon as possible. These times are partially from the 3 times of the Jewish faith, because they pray 3 specific times of the day. And it's always done after cleaning, like a shower or washing your hands or your face, or a combination. And it is always done facing Mecca. So if you're west of Mecca, like we are in the Western world in the States, we would pray, a Muslim would pray facing eastward towards Mecca. Their holy place, like the temple or the church, would be called the mosque, which happens on Fridays instead of Saturdays or Sundays. Everyone has a different holy day, but every day it is available for praying like other holy places. And it is a very sacred place, and your head must be covered, and your shoes must be off to conserve cleanliness and spiritualness. Now, as I said, it is a monotheistic religion, so they believe in one God, and his name is Allah, which is the same God as the other 2 monotheistic religions. He just has a different name, which just literally means God in Arabic. And Arabic is the language of the holy book, which is called the Quran, and is always written in that language to diffuse confusion or different perspectives on the Quran, the holy book, like the Bible has had. So it is much more specific, and that's why you're supposed to learn Arabic and supposed to take a trip to Mecca at least once in your lifetime, supposedly once a year, to further connect yourself with God. There are several sects, but there are 2 main sects of the Islamic faith. There's the Sunni, which is the main religion, or the main sect of the religion, which is 85% to 90% of the Islamic followers, and they have 5 pillars of Islam, which most just generally accept, which is the Shahada, the Salah, the Zakat, the Psalm, and the Hajj. And the second one is the Shia, which is the second largest, but it only has about 5 to 10% of followers, and they have a separate 5 pillars of Islam, which aren't as well known. But they do share most of the beliefs. The main difference between the 2 is who is the leader. For example, the Sunni believes that the leader should be elected after Muhammad, and the Shia believe that it just runs in Muhammad's family. And Muhammad is the founder, just much like Abraham is of Judaism, and Jesus is of Christianity, of the religion, and that's what Mecca and Medina mark. Medina is the second holiest place in Islamic faith in Saudi Arabia, and it is the final resting place of Muhammad, who was born in Mecca, which is why that's the most holy place in the Islamic faith. Moving on to the second version of a religion, which is polytheism, which means belief in more than one god and many gods. It's the root poly, or the prefix poly means. And the first of the two polytheistic religions that we studied is Hinduism, which is the oldest organized religion that is still existent today and followed by a numerous amount of people. It is the third largest religion today in existence, and it is started by, no one knows who started it, but it started in what is now present-day India, and it means eternal law in Sanskrit, which is what the original language of Hinduism and that area was. It's now mostly in Hindi. Most of the forms or sects, I guess, of Hinduism are henotheistic, which means there's only one main deity, but there's lots of little tiny, well, not tiny, but lesser gods and goddesses that are in existence. Spirits. Hinduism is full of belief in many different gods and goddesses and spirits. They originally believed in spirits that controlled all of the natural forces in the world, and they changed, and that evolved into believing many different gods and goddesses, with three main forms of them, which is Brahman, who is the creator of life, Vishnu, who is the protector of life, and Shiva, who is the destroyer of evil. Holy texts. They don't have a specific just book. They have texts that are primary texts called the Vedas. There are 4 Vedas. They're called the Eternal Truths. They are full of hymns, incantations, rituals of ancient India. The religion, Hinduism, influenced Buddhism greatly and Sikhism greatly. God. All religions have a God. If you don't have a God, it's not a religion, period. So this one is called Brahman, which is the main one, and there's several others as we've discussed, and it's called the Eternal Spirit, and it teaches unity, and part of your soul is part of God. Therefore you can meditate, or through meditation you can unite further with your God. Reincarnation. Lots of different religions believe in this, older ones especially, including Hinduism. And all animals have souls, according to Hinduism, and they can reincarnate into just another animal, and they'll either go down into like lower forms or higher forms depending on what they do in their life, and that is called karma. And if you do lots of bad things, you'll go into a lower form, and lots of good things, you go into a higher form, kind of like how a monotheistic would believe in a heaven or a hell. So the goal in life is to reach moksha, which is the escape velocity for reincarnation, so you don't have to keep being reincarnated, and you can go live in a holy place forever in the same soul state, kind of like a heaven, and the reincarnation is kind of like a hell, but not exactly. A big part of India, which therefore influences Hinduism greatly, is the caste system, which are basically social classes. There are there's 4 main ones, and there's a 5th one that people can't really interact with. They have formal names, but we're just going to say that there's the first one, which is basically priests and teachers, the second one, which is basically rulers, third one, merchants, fourth one are farmers. The 5th one is called the untouchables, which mainly includes slaves and other really low people in their community. That's all for this Monday, Sebastian, and all for this video assignment, Mrs. Matejic. Sebastian, I will see you on Wednesday. Mrs. Matejic, I will see you in class tomorrow.